Now, I'll ask it. If nurses, paramedics, 999 call handlers, cleaners, porters, goodness knows who else, ambulance technicians, all walk out in one giant concerted effort to cripple our NHS, it's almost like domestic terrorism.
Did I hear you say, Patrick, that you actually supported the idea of a nurses' strike?
No, I don't. No, you heard me wrong. You heard me wrong. Anyone who watches this show regularly, which I'm sure you do, Edwina, you will know that I am dead against it. No, I said I could just about countenance it in isolation if they covered for themselves. But the whole purpose of that was supposed to be, oh, well, don't worry, people won't be affected. Well, I'm telling you what, if you coordinate it so that I can't call an ambulance, get an ambulance, or get treatment when I'm in hospital, then we are knackered. Is it domestic terrorism?
I tell you what it is it's a conspiracy. It's a conspiracy by extremely well-paid people who lead these unions, including the Royal College of Nursing, who, in my view, should be ashamed of themselves. NHS Trust in England, the members of RCN in NHS Trust in England have not voted for this strike. Majority of those members and members of the trusts in England have voted not to go on strike, but they're still going to try and call it. It's a blackmail. It's a conspiracy. They're not thinking about their grannies. They're not thinking about their elderly neighbours. And in fact, some of these senior trade union leaders are paid so much they could send them privately anyway. It's a deeply painful, hurtful thing to even suggest. And why are they doing it? They're doing it because they think they can blackmail the government into paying an over-inflation pay rise. The RCN wants 17.5%. Now, let me tell you the other reason why this is a mistake. It's a very, very fundamental one. What happens if the government gives in and pays these pay rises is you then embed inflation in the system. And that means everybody suffers. Everybody who is paid suffers because their wages won't buy what they wanted. Back nearly 50 years ago, before I became an MP, I was a college lecturer. I used to teach economics and business studies in Kingston-on-Thames. And we had a Labour government that did give in to the unions, not least because the unions were paying for them.
Well, exactly, yeah.
And we got a 24% Horton Pay Award. It was named after the education minister. And 24% pay rise in 1 year. Bingo.
Yeah, absolutely.
Next year, inflation touched 28%.
Yeah.
We have been paid, Patrick, in paper money, but that level of inflation stayed in the economy for years and years. It's one of the things.
I just want to stick, Edwina, I get all of that. It's important to have the context, but I want to stick to today's facts as they are. Now, we try and get the Royal College of Nursing on. They agreed to come on and then they cancelled. I can't understand for a moment why. It's fascinating that we can get GPs on to talk about other things, but, you know, they support a nurses' strike, but they wouldn't support all this. They don't want to come on today. Labour are very quiet on this issue. Frankly, it's because they don't like it Upham, because they don't get this kind of questioning on the BBC. If we look at the figures here, across 2022 so far, the NHS has treated 5.3% fewer people than during the same period in 2019. That's despite the fact the health services day-to-day budget is up 12% compared to before the pandemic. And according to the IFS, after adjusting for inflation, this means it's an 11.7% higher funding in real terms. There is no excuse for the NHS being as knackered as it is.
Yeah, well, let me put another figure to you. If you ask people how much we spend on the NHS, they may say 30, 40 billion. That's the amount of money I had to spend when I was a minister back in ancient times. It's actually £157 billion starting next April. And that includes big pay rises for quite a lot of stuff. Most significantly, Patrick, it includes the better pay rises for the lower paid staff. I think that actually matters. The average pay of a qualified nurse in Britain is £37,000. I mean, what you could do, what maybe Steve Barclay is thinking of, is saying, if you promise not to strike, we may give you an extra 1%. That'd be an extra £370 on average for non-striking nurses. But they cannot withdraw their work, their labour, and expect that it will have no impact. It's a cruel and wicked thing even to suggest.
No, you've said cruel and wicked there, and this is one thing that I can't quite get my head around, which is that I think people have almost been indoctrinated. It's quite Orwellian. It's like, nurses good, Tories bad, right? And at what point do you think the British public will wake up and go, hang on a minute now. It's all very well and good them saying, well, the Tories are not paying us enough money. Well, the same could be said for police officers, for firefighters. People want increased benefits. We're paying all this money under the sun for migrant hotels, left, right and centre. Everything. Council taxes going through the roof. All this. People want a handout, no matter what the issue is. And I can't help but wonder at the moment, people might have to face the reality that a huge amount of NHS workers are willing to let people die this winter, including potentially, anyone's grandmother or the most vulnerable people in society, for the sake of their own pay packet, when, frankly, a lot of them are already paid enough.
I think you're absolutely right. I mean, if you're arguing with somebody, like when I argue on Twitter with someone and, they're angry, I say, fine, tell us what you paid. Tell us what you paid. Because the fact is that people in the public sector, and particularly in the NHS, and particularly the qualified people in the NHS who are making the running on all of this, like the Royal College of Nursing, the Royal College of Midwives. And midwives have not exactly covered themselves in glory with high-quality care in recent years, have they? But those people are very, very well paid, and they are much better paid on average than the people they are caring for.
Yeah, absolutely. And I tell you what, Edwina, as well, there will be lawyers now with their ears pricking up, because the medical negligence claims that I think will be lobbied at people when they can't get through to an ambulance, the ambulance takes even longer than it already does, which is usually quite a long time, actually, to arrive, and then they don't get decent care because people have voluntarily downed tools and gone off. I can hear lawyers up and down the country now just in front of the cash registers going, yeah, we're waiting for it. Look, Edwina, thank you very much. By the way, on the salary stuff, just FYI, the average paramedic salary inside the London area is $36,200. The average salary for an emergency ambulance technician across the entirety of the UK is $30,142. Those are according to official figures. People can make their own minds up, of course, as to whether or not they deserve a pay rise or whether a pay rise for them is worth elderly people dying this winter. Edwina Currie, thank you very much. That's